We're starting to see some COVID-19 vaccines become available, and there are valid questions about things like how effective they are and whether they're safe. The data on those two questions are freely available, but there's quite a bit of it, and a lot of it might not be the most entertaining reading. So I thought I'd try to put together a quick summary, at least as best I understand things. I'll focus in here on data for the Pfizer vaccine, which is one that's now getting used in the US. It looks like those data are pretty representative of data that are available for other vaccines at this point too, including the Moderna vaccine. So at least for now, we'll just look at the Pfizer data as representative of any vaccine that you're likely to have an opportunity to get. We'll look at efficacy in this video, or how well the vaccine works, and then we'll deal with safety in a separate video. Links to the reports with the data are in the comments if you want to have a look for yourself. I've included links to reports for some of the other vaccines too, just in case you're interested. This specific study for the Pfizer vaccine started with 43,651 volunteers who were divided into two groups. Around half, or about 22,000, got 2 doses of the vaccine 3 weeks apart, and another around 22,000 got the placebo. They still got 2 shots, just basically of a salt solution, no vaccine in them. The study was blinded, so participants didn't and still don't know which group they're in. Now, the data were analyzed in lots of ways, but we'll just look at 2 here. First, we'll look at the primary thing that was measured in the study, which was the number of COVID-19 cases in each group, vaccine and placebo, if you start counting cases 7 days after each volunteer got their second shot. The idea here is that by waiting to start counting cases until 7 days after the second dose, you give the vaccine plenty of time to take effect before collecting data to make the comparison. Here's part of a table with some of the results. It has a column for the participants who received the vaccine, which tells us there were 18,198 included in that group for this analysis. This is a little less than the around 22,000 that started the study in this group, and that's expected. There are protocols established before the study starts that define situations where participants have to be excluded from a specific analysis. There's a similar column for the placebo group, which had 18,325. And finally, a column with a value that represents the estimated vaccine efficacy based on the data collected. As of the time of this analysis, a total of 170 COVID-19 cases had been recorded across all participants in both groups. Of these, 162 were in the placebo group, and 8 were in the vaccine group. I'm using the dots here just as another way to take a look at these results. There are 170, which represent the 170 COVID-19 cases that were observed. And if there was no effect of the vaccine, we'd expect about half to be in each of the 2 groups, placebo and vaccine. But the actual results looked like this. Again, 162 of the 170 cases were in the placebo group. The best estimate for the efficacy was 95%, with a range for that estimate of around 90 to 97%. The analysis was done again after splitting the participants into age categories. Patterns are pretty similar when considering the results separately for individuals between 16 and 55 and over 55. Again, still pretty strong evidence for an effect of the vaccine in each case. So that's the primary analysis, but there were lots of other ways these data were evaluated, and we'll look at one more. Here's a plot that shows data if you start counting after dose 1, instead of waiting until 7 days after dose 2, like in the last analysis. So, day 0 on the bottom, or x-axis, would represent the day everyone received their first dose of either placebo or vaccine, and the plot will show the cumulative proportion of cases in each group over time. Let's start with data for around the first 10 days. The values for the placebo group are in red and the vaccine group in blue. Basically, for the first around 10 days, the values pretty much overlap. Not much difference in the groups. Now let's look at the placebo for the remaining days. It looks like this. If we put it in absolute numbers of cases, which might be a little easier to think about, there were 275 observed in the placebo group by the time these data were analyzed. What about the vaccine group? After around day 10, those data look much different. A total of 50 cases were observed. Again, pretty strong evidence for an effect of the vaccine. So, will that vaccine prevent you from getting COVID-19? Well, this study, and really no study, can answer that in a simple yes or no way. Science doesn't work in absolutes, but in probabilities and degrees of certainty. It doesn't completely eliminate your chance of getting sick. Clearly, some individuals who got 2 doses of vaccine still got COVID-19 afterwards. but that happens significantly less frequently than for those who didn't get vaccinated. What these data do suggest is that this specific vaccine reduces your chance of getting infected by somewhere around 95%. But of course, we've only considered here how effective the vaccine is. Safety is an important issue too, and we'll look at that in the next video.